Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Zelia Akari and today we are going to be going over my week 1 Pokemon Masters League match. First match of Season 5. We have my wonderful draft team and my Terra types are not listed on the screen, but so I will go over them. And I will also go over my opponent's Terra types as well. So this week, I have Terra. So as always, I have my Deontay is Terra, and it's Terra Fairy, Fighting, and Poison. And then my opponent has Terra Reuniclus and Terra Charizard. My opponent's Terras are Terra Psychic Fairy and Fighting on Reuniclus, and Terra Fighting, Ground, and Grass on Charizard, which is really good for me. I have some good matchups into all of them. I have Pokemon that can deal with pretty much all of these Terras, for sure. And I will definitely be going over my. I'm definitely excited to show you all my team. And I'm excited to see what kind of happens. So I will go over my opponent's team. This is Bellyzards' team. I believe he's the Bama Bellyzards, and it starts with Goldango, Mega Garchomp, and Corviknight. Goldango and Mega Garchomp, both typically good offensive Pokemon. But if you can see on the screen there, they don't really hit they're gonna in general struggle with speed tiers. I do have in the back of my mind that my opponent could be a Scarf Goldango, and it could also be Trick, which would be interesting to say the least. Scarf Goldango would definitely make a ton of sense this week. Mega Garchomp does have a decent enough matchup this week, but it will struggle into like bulky. It will struggle generally into Deontay, a very bulky Pokemon that's fairy typing, and can just remove its weakness, and it could just remove its ground weakness right away. Corviknight, very strong defensive Pokemon, definitely requires having answers from every Pokemon that I have. Does need some form of option. It can and probably will be a Rocky Helmet set. Rocky Helmet's a very common Corviknight item. Corviknight also a good defog Pokemon. Hazard's not exactly the best thing to put into my opponent's team. My opponent will be able to get hazards up, and they will be able to keep their hazards up with Goldango. Now, I can try and get a defog off potentially, but I'm not completely convinced that it matters all that much. To some extent, it definitely will matter at times, but I am pretty happy with overall with my matchup in the Corviknight. Tyranitar. Tyranitar is a Pokemon that is just generally a very bulky defensive Pokemon. I think a lot of people like building him very defensive, and so you need to have either a fighting type Pokemon that can just one-shot it, a fighting type move that can just one-shot the Tyranitar, or you need, you pretty much just need that, because, like, offense, it's very bulky defensively with sand up, or you essentially just need to wear it down through the sand, which is pretty difficult to do. And then also next up is Aegislash. Aegislash is just a very good Steel Ghost type. It's a bit redundant with Goldango, but it is a very good offensive Pokemon with the King Shield, and which can definitely cause issues. If he does end up going with some very bulky, like Aegislash stall set, it might be a little tough, but if once his Pokemon tries to attack, it's very vulnerable. And even then, it's good. You just need to have a good answer for it. In general, it can be very annoying. Next Next up is Excadrill. Excadrill is really nice on this team, obviously, as a Sand Rusher. It's the best Sand Rusher in Pokemon. There are some other Sand Rush Pokemon, but they do not stand up to Excadrill. Excadrill is very scary, and so it definitely commands respect. I would be very surprised if Excadrill didn't come. Next up we have Hippowdon, we have Reuniclus and an Enamorous Therian. I guess you have some option between Hippowdon and Tyranitar, but I don't see why you'd bring both unless you're that desperate to give your non-rock poke to have sand up all the time. It'd be very redundant. A Reuniclus. Reuniclus is Reuniclus is just a super bulky Pokemon. So you need to have a good answer to Psychic, and you need to have a good answer to Fairy. And obviously fighting as well, but I think there's a lot more checks to fighting type. The fighting type of Reuniclus. And then an Enamorous Therian, you're always looking to have a either a Steel type move or a Electric type move into it. Jellicent, Golurk, and Charizard. The last Pokemon, I don't really expect Jellicent or Golurk. It's possible I have built-in measures for both, pretty much. Jellicent is weak to Jellicent being weak to grass and to electric, but being a water absorb Pokemon, also weak to dark type moves. Charizard is the last one. I do think that Charizard is likely to come just because it's his favorite Pokemon. Seeing that his name is Bellyzard, he's clearly a big fan of. He's definitely a big Charizard fan. Last season had Mega Charizard X. So I kind of expect Charizard to tag along this week. And I also have decent prep for that. So we're ready. I'm definitely ready for this match, and I will go into the team building portion and show you what I have for my team. All right, and here is the sets that I will be bringing to my match against Bellyzards. So I will start with my Mega Pokemon. We have Mega Lopunny. Jolly Nature, 236 speed, would outspeed Choice Scarf, Modest, Goldango. A wonderful ability, Scrappy, just makes all of them have to quake in their boots versus my Mega Lopunny. Versus versus Scrappy. So yeah, I was very pleased with this set, and close combat does a lot of damage to Corviknight. So if it does come to the battle, which I do expect Corv, I think it'd be it's a very good defensive Pokemon. But we'll see what happens. We have Grenade the Greninja, Life Orb, Protean, 88 speed to outspeed exactly Charizard. And we have Dark Pulse, Water Shuriken, Low Kick, and Ice Beam. Low Kick for Tyranitar. Ice Beam to hit Mega Garchomp. Dark Pulse to hit all of his ghost types. Water Shuriken to kind of get some damage in on Corviknight. Didn't really need Surf. I think Water Shuriken also does quite a lot of damage as well. And then next up this week, we brought Victini, but we brought a special attacking Victini, which isn't very typical. Like, most weeks, I'm probably bringing a physical set. But we have Choice Specs with Max to be the exact same speed as Charizard, because it is his fastest Pokemon. Thunderbolt, U-Turn, Glaciate, Blue Flare, Thunderbolt in case he brings Corv, obviously. But Blue Flare does more damage. But T-Bolt is actually there for Jellicent. As Jellicent is a Pokemon that he has, it would be, if I get to bring Victini in cleanly against it, it can do a lot of damage. And next we will go to my Terra Captain. We have Terra Deontay. This week I'm Terra Fighting. It just makes... I looked at the Terra types, and this one makes the most sense. There's a lot of Steel type sitting on the other end, so Fighting type does a lot of damage into Steel. We're running Iron Defense, Earth Power, Moonblast, Body Press. Iron Defense, so like Body Press obviously does a ton of damage into Tyranitar. Earth Power does a lot of damage into his steel types as well, like especially the ones that don't take damage from body press. So this is why I put a little bit more special attacking into it, and I went modest. I wanted to do as much damage as I could to hit Goldango very hard. But I also wanted a little bit of speed to speed creep, in case he put a decent amount of speed into his Tyranitar. And we also brought leftovers on it, on the anti, because that's just a very good item. It eliminates, once I Terra, it eliminates Sand Chip. Next up we have Heavy Boots Zapdos. We're running Static this week because like it's just a great ability. There's also a chance that having Pressure was better, but Pressure isn't usually that amazing. 248 HP, 124 special attack, and Spadef enough Spadef to take moves from Goldango, in case it's a very heavy attacker. And then finally we have our Rocky Helmet Scizor Green Ranger, we equipping with Technician, equipped with 248 HP, 252 attack, and 8 defense. We're running a Swords Dance variant, Swords Dance Close Combat Knockoff Bullet Punch, which hopefully does some wonders. It also can just close combat into Tyranitar while not taking a ton of damage from it, which is very nice. I could have speed prepped it, to be honest, with I could have done a speed creeping thing where I just take a little less HP, but this was just kind of like brain off, just go 250, just go like near max with 8. That way everything can round a little better for you with an odd HP total. So yeah, this is the team that I will be bringing versus Bellyzard, and I expect him to bring 1 or 2 Sandsetters depending on his choice. T-Tar and or Hippowdon. I expect to see Goldango for sure. That's a very strong Pokemon. I could see him bringing Jellicent potentially. And I have prepped for Charizard. I don't think it does good into my team this week. So he might leave it at home. But I do also potentially suspect a Terra Captain from him. So maybe a Reuniclus. Which unfortunately I didn't do a ton of prep for, so it might be by the seat of our pants with that, but we'll see. I do definitely expect Sand and Excadrill as well. I think Excadrill typically comes. Just get it to Sand Rush. Sand Rush is very scary. I don't have that much into it, but I do have that's like Greninja Water Shuriken is also super good into it. But yeah, let's get into the match, and I will come back in the post and we'll go over the replay. All right, hello everyone. My match with Bellyzard has ended, and after a little bit of reflecting, let's get into the replay. This was a very exciting match. It was a bit nerve-wracking. I wasn't sure exactly what to expect. Seeing the team, seeing a Reuniclus and a Jellicent, I wasn't sure, and seeing the double Sandsetters, it makes I was a bit unsure about what I would see. But regardless, here we go. I ended up leading Greninja, and it ended up leading it into Hippowdon. And my initial thought when I saw this was he can switch on this. I just have to be I think in my brain I had it that he was gonna switch into Jellicent. I could have just hit Dark Pulse and I would have been fine. But I ended up getting a little bit in my brain, and I still went with the Ice Beam Click, which isn't terrible. It does a little chip damage to his to whatever switches. It was just a Jellicent switch. The Ice Beam did about 20% though, which was good. In totality. And here I'm actually still able to make my click of Dark Pulse, which Does a lot, but doesn't get the KO or the flinch. A flinch would have been nice because that's a 48% Scald coming in. That is resist. That is ice doesn't resist water, so that wasn't there. It did get the burn. The burn was probably the most unfortunate part because it means I don't have that many I only have one more attack left on my Greninja, which kind of renders it useless. I switch Zapdos in, and he doubles into Tyranitar, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting a Scald, which I guess was like... I kind of just was expecting another Scald, which was... I guess maybe then the switch wasn't that good. I didn't have that many good switches, though. So at least I had a Spadef. At least I had a Spadef invested Zapdos going into it. And here I have 2 clicks. I can either go knockoff if I expect Golden Go here into a close combat, or knockoff for anything, any switch. Like if he just decides, okay, well, close combat can come in, so I want to switch to like anything else. But everything here besides like Hippowdon is super weak to well, not really. Anything but his 2 other ground types are weak to knock off. So I actually decided to go with the CC click, and my opponent goes for knockoff, does take off my Rocky helmet, and I get the job done, this is all I wanted to do. I just wanted to close combat, get a fighting move into his T-Tar and remove it from the game, because that thing was cooking me in that team was absolutely cooking me in Mox. So that was the big thing I had to get rid of. Here we see Air Balloon Sandstorm. I actually here able to get a ton of chip. This was very good for me, seeing him use knockoff. But here, I just went with another knockoff. I wanted to see if he was staying and what type of set he was, and he was pretty bulky. So that wouldn't have that second one wouldn't have actually KO'd. I did see that he was this, and then I knew that Hex killed, so I just let it go. Brought in Zapdos, and I have there's 2 things here. I can click Defog, or I can click Heat Wave into his Golden Go, which if he keeps Golden Go in, knowing that I want to click Defog to remove the rocks, like it's just so much better for me to have it's just so much better for me to click Heat Wave in case he stays in, and if I do, I will get some chip. I'll get a little bit of chip onto his Hippo. Right? Like he's gonna I assume that he's gonna switch Hippo here to get Sand up. And also if he thinks I'm gonna go like I think he might have predicted a Defog, so he wanted to go to his rock setter, potentially. Either way, Heat Wave misses, unfortunately. It would have been good chip actually. And here I ended up just going for Defog. He switches into his Jellicent, which on a normal Zapdos set would have meant a sudden, like, essentially I would have just killed this thing with like Volt Switch. But unfortunately, because he has 2 ground types on his team, I can't really realistically have a Volt Switch. But yeah, so we chip. I do get that away. I do U-turn out of this, and I bring Deontay in. Now, Deontay here is clutch. It's a key Pokemon in this matchup. Deontay. I ended up like with the state of the game, I needed Deontay to be a monster, and to let the Terra do it, and to go with the Terra. I couldn't obviously let it hit rocks into me. I went Terra fighting Iron Defense. Immediately saw Reuniclus and realized I made a bit of a mistake, because Reuniclus is just going to click Calm Mind into me, or it's just going to click straight up Psychic Noise, and I'm not very specially bulky. I just have my normal bulk, and now I take double damage from it. So I switched to Zapdos on what I assumed would have been a Psychic, on what I assumed would have been a Calm Mind, and the goal here was to get a switch over to Lopunny, which was really unfortunate for me that I brought it in when I did. I realized now that I should have gone to like Greninja, just knowing he was going to click Psychic Noise. which allows me to force him into a Terra. I can Sakura Ninja if I need to here. Or if he doesn't Terra, like I could have made some prediction for what that he would have Terra'd, like, but the goal is to always try to force the fighting, like a Terra out of him. Whether it's Fairy, whether it's fighting, I have stuff that I can do into all of them pretty much. I think Fairy would have been the hardest to beat, but I could have still gotten there. But yeah. So instead, he goes Terra fighting, which I go for fake out, and I see that I saw I didn't do a ton of damage, and I should have immediately known that this was a very bulky Pokemon. But I knew I didn't really have anything else to do. I don't really have anything else. Lopunny's great into a lot of other things on his team, but from here I just need to chip this guy down. If I can get him down low enough, with close combat, then I can bring in Deontay and I can just Moonblast the next turn. I know I'm faster. It's a very slow Pokemon, so I let Lola go down. So unfortunately for Mega Lopunny, first week didn't do a whole lot. I probably could have just led Mega Lopunny, potentially there, but in case it was like Rocky, unless they put like they could have put like Rocky Helmet on something, that would have been really bad for me. But anyways, I do Moonblast and I get rid of the Terra. I get rid of the +1/+1 Reuniclus. That was so clutch. And now I have Terra fighting sitting in front of a team that like does not want to deal with it. I was very surprised to see him bring Excadrill in, considering that Excadrill doesn't have Sandrush right now. It's just too slow. Like, essentially what I would have had to do here is I would have needed to like probably sack something or bring Zapdos in on an Earthquake. But either way, it's a hard switch into Goldango, which eats the Body Press, because I had Body Press on this set with the Iron Defense just for like getting rid of the T-Tar, obviously now I learned getting rid of the Excadrill, even though I knew he was going to have a couple of Ghost Pokemon. He clicks Recover, and I click Earth Power, and I do 56%. So I am dealing more damage than he's taking, which is good. He does go for the T-Wave, so he accepts Goldango's going down. There was a chance here that I could have read that with how low he is, and I could have hard switched to Zapdos. Like, it's hard. In hindsight is 20/20, but like I knew he was T-Wave because of Scizor, and I could have avoided this with a switch to Zapdos, and then like clicking Heat Wave and going from there essentially. Yeah, my opponent at this point obviously, was looking for hacks. Like, he was looking for stuff, and he got one pair. That was a Moonblast. No, that was an Iron Defense. Sorry. I clicked Iron Defense hoping that I could get it up, and then from here I was just like, you know what, I really don't want to bother with this. I just want to click Moonblast and see how much damage I do to it. That's like the most important thing for me, is just seeing how much damage I was taking. And here I knew I had to take an EQ, but I got paired, which was really bad. Essentially, I think my opponent's main out here was to click Earthquake again. Earthquake me, knowing I'm slower and that he can crit, and that he can either high roll, depending on the roll. If this was a mid roll, it could have potentially. If this was a low roll, he could have KO'd with a high roll, or also just a crit. But instead, he goes for Swords Dance. I live through it, and I hit him with a Body Press, and he goes down. He was Rocky Helmet too, not like Choice Band or anything. Choice Band would have really made that interesting. Choice Band, I would have lost my Pokemon. But instead, I managed to get through pretty much everything, and now it's just converting this end game essentially. So the Body Press happens. I hit like Moonblast, and it crits for 69%, which tells me that he's not very That tells me that he's not very Special Bulk. Like 69% crit is really high amount of damage. But unfortunately for me now, it's just like I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can with Slack Off. I'm barely not beating out his Slack Off damage, but I'm still clicking because it's the right thing to do, because I can crit again. I'm still clicking the move. I got a para, and unfortunately for me, you're just gonna click Body Press there. And here I'm gonna go to Zapdos. I'm gonna defog this away, because if I don't defog this away, Then Greninja, the Greninja doesn't die, but Greninja like takes damage. Here I could have just spammed Heat Waves until I lost my Zapdos and looked for but I don't think this guy can't get static, so there's no reason to really do that. I hit a body press. I went Yui into Greninja. And I let him, and he hit me with a body press. So I knew the body press was coming. I can't let it deal damage to Victini because then Earthquake kills. Because I'm guessing he Stealth Rock, body press, slack off, and Earthquake, essentially. And so Victini comes in, and I'm just like, okay, I have to make the click. The click is Blue Flare. I am Special Victini for a reason. If he is high special defense, if he's max, he doesn't live. If he's not, he probably goes down. And Blue Flare hit, bang, and it did the 70%. Don't know how much don't know how close I was, but I did 70.5%, and I won. So overall, I would say not the cleanest game at all. Definitely had some bad switches. The Greninja handling at the beginning was bad. Maybe don't even lead Greninja. Like there's always a good chance that like Deontay could like get some setup and get going, but it definitely would have been interesting for sure. And I certainly am looking forward to more weeks of this league. There's still another 8 more regular season weeks, but we start off with a win for the second season in a row. And I'm extremely happy to win the game more than anything. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. If you have any comments, tips for me, and I will certainly be checking my comment section because I like to see what people have to say. So until next week, have a good night, have a good week, have a good one.